Hello, everybody, and welcome to the November Booksplosion Book of the Month. It feels weird because we're in December right now, but today we are discussing Cursed by Frank Miller and Thomas. It was by Thomas Miller with illustrations by Frank Miller, and we are working with Simon and Schuster this month, and we are going to share our lineup for the rest of the year right now. Before we get into stuff, a breakdown of our schedule. Basically, this month we are reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely by BRIGID KEMMERER. This is a KEMMERER. This is a fantasy novel, and our live show for this will be on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then in January, we are reading Reverie by Ryan La Sala. I think that's how you say it. And we don't have a set date for this yet, but we will be reading this in January, and our live show will be that month too, probably.
Yeah. Should we talk about, like, really quickly, A Curse So Dark and Lonely is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And everyone, every time I talk about this, has been telling me how much they loved it. So I'm just so excited to read it.
I'm excited for this one because what's interesting about this is that the Beast character, the Cursed Prince, is like in a fantasy world, but the main girl character is from the modern world. So it has like that fun juxtaposition, which I love.
Me too. Reverie has been pitched as like Inception meets The Magicians, which sounds the coolest. And the front says, "Some dreams chase you back, dun dun dun." I've also seen comparisons to like Now You See Me, and like they're all.
I love that movie.
What?
I love that movie.
I know, that movie was so much fun.
So yeah, that's our lineup for December and January, and we'll update you guys on the rest of 2020 once they come up. And our Dear Booksplosion live show is going to, we just decided this and I just forgot.
December 18th.
Wednesday, December 18th, we're going to be talking about the end of the decade things, our favorites from the 10s, so you should join us. It's going to be a lot of fun.
The 10s!
Yeah, and make sure, like, send in any, like, Christmas traditions, Christmas stories, or any of your end of the decades lists. Like, or we'll have you chiming in as we talk, but if you want us to talk about a specific end of the decade list, email us. Emails are awesome at gmail.com, or if you have a Christmas story, we'll do like a end of the decade, and then we'll do some like fun Christmas talk. Yeah, or holiday talk, Hanukkah talk, anything you celebrate in December. I'm sorry, I just said Christmas instead of holidays. I didn't mean to exclude anybody.
And I put our email in the chat, so be sure to email us. But yeah, today we are talking about Cursed by Thomas Wheeler and Frank Miller. I keep getting mixed up on who is the actual author is.
I know, because both of their names are like right here, so you just want to say they're both the author.
But this is a King Arthur retelling. We follow our main character, Nimue, and her village has been slaughtered, and she's basically trying to get revenge. That's kind of like a really short summary, but we'll get into it. We'll be discussing it full on. Who wants to share their thoughts first on this book?
Is that how you say her name? You guys did odd.
Yeah, it's Nimue. It's Nimue.
Okay, that's not how I said it.
Were you saying Nimu?
Nimue, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would be saying Nimue too. Yeah, it's Nimue.
Nimue. That's prettier than the way I was saying it.
But did you want to share your thoughts, Kat?
Yeah, I think I would have enjoyed this a lot more if I was more familiar with the King Arthur legend, because there was so many like appearances of characters who I only vaguely know. So I feel like I'm very excited to see the show. I think this is going to be a really, like, there's a lot of characters which overwhelmed me a little bit, but I think that like being able to see them in the show and like the scope of it will be very cool. I really loved how political it got. Like in the second half especially, we got to see, we're not just following the main character. We got to see like a lot of different perspectives and not necessarily all enemies, like a lot of different players playing against each other. And I always love that kind of stuff in a book.
This, to me, when I started reading this, I like immediately felt like a D&D like a D&D set come to life. Like there's paladins and monks and just like all this different jargon, druids, and you're kind of just thrown into it. And it felt very overwhelming at first. And I think that, again, as a show, I could see it being very cinematic and very Game of Thrones-esque in the way that they switch from different parts of this universe to different characters. Because like you said, yeah, there's so many characters and I could just see it visually, but I feel like in words, it's a little overwhelming. It's like made to be visual, like you could tell. And I think it's like very intelligently written. It's just like, it's overwhelming in text form. My favorite part of the story was Arthur and Nimue. As soon as Arthur came into the picture, I was just like, oh, yay. It's not a romance I can follow. I was waiting for something. I'm trying to think. I also, I don't want to, never mind, spoilers. Yeah, Jesse, share your thoughts.
Okay. Also, before I get into it, if you guys have questions you want to ask us about the book, leave them in the chat. We didn't do a hashtag this time around. So you can tweet us using hashtag #CursedSplosion on Twitter, but I feel like we mostly just like use the chat these days.
I feel like mostly people use the chat, so
just send us some questions in the chat. But my thoughts on Cursed, I basically have like really similar feelings to you guys. Like I really wonder how I would feel about this book if I knew more of the original story of King Arthur. But I can't really like say much on that because I don't know much about it. But I liked the political parts of it. I liked some of the action parts too. I wasn't expecting this book to be like as brutal as it was, but I really liked that.
That surprised me too.
There's so many heads flying.
Yeah, I was like, okay, go off. So I really liked those aspects, but I also just like found myself really confused a lot of the time while reading this book. Like it took me forever to like realize that there was Fae in the world. That
druids, really... I think, are the Fae. That's what's confusing.
Yeah, and they're her tribe was Fae.
I think they're all Fae, but there's different like druid types
to it. Okay. Yeah. I was just confusing to me. I could, like Christine said, like I could visualize this as a show, and I feel like it might be explained a little bit better just visually, but I still really enjoyed different aspects of it. And I also liked there was like a lot of really nice shock factor moments that happened, like little things that just kind of like caught me off guard as I was reading, and I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it was interesting. It was good. That's all I really have to say. Those are my thoughts so far.
Yeah. Are we going to go into, should we announce that we're going into spoilers?
Going into spoilers now. So if you have not read Cursed, go read it and then come back and join us and watch the discussion.
Yeah. I mean,
I need to talk a little bit about the romance because I actually kind of disagree with you, Christine.
That's actually like how it was tied into it. If like he hadn't come in, I would be floating still, I feel like.
I didn't feel like I had moments where I felt their chemistry, but for some reason I shipped Nimue with Morgan more so. I don't know why, but I was just like, oh, I really like Morgan and Nimue together, but I knew that they were
being like a little triangle. Awkward for them because they're brother and sister.
But I like knew it wasn't gonna go in that direction because it just like didn't feel like it was going to go in that way. But I was like, I feel like there's more chemistry here than I feel with her and Arthur. But,
do you guys care about spoilers for the King Arthur legend? Like, can we talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I know very little about the Arthurian legend, so I don't know a ton, but I do know that Arthur ends up married to Guinevere. From that book. Yeah. But he meets her at the end, and so like that's what I was waiting for. Like I didn't really ship him and Nimue. Is that how you say it? Nimue. I didn't really ship them together, so I was like, I know they're not going to end up together. Like I know that this is just like, you know, they're in this extreme situation and they're drawn to each other. But like I knew that Arthur ends up with someone else, so I was like waiting for her to show up this whole time.
Right.
I just needed, I feel like, a relationship because her friend left so fast and like all of a sudden she's just by herself. And then like her and Merlin, like they have like a conversation and they're not together. Like there weren't any bonds to like grasp onto that were like happy. You know, there was like that the king and his terrible mother, and that's it. And you know what I liked? How the sword was like the ring in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I was waiting for her to like to realize that it's doing that to her, and she kind of did, but kind of didn't. And at the end, I was like, is Merlin, like, my precious, like, getting his magic back? Okay, can we talk about the final scene? Because I'm a little confused because Merlin is there with her when she gets shot with the arrow, and I thought he was going to, like, jump in front of her. But he just, like, stands there and then picks up the sword after she topples off the bridge with 3 arrows in her, in my head. What did you guys think? How did you picture that?
I mean, I just kind of thought, like, there wasn't anything he could do about that, so he was focusing on the enemy in front of him, kind of thing.
But I thought he was with them.
I mean, I didn't. You're putting it in a way that I didn't consider, so now I'm reconsidering things.
Exactly. Throwing it at you.
Something was he like, oh, there goes my daughter, get the sword.
Yeah, I thought the magic that he did was going to save her, but she just fell down the river.
But maybe his magic maybe he did do something to save her because she's still alive.
Yeah, but she's Nimue. She has the hidden, like, I feel like that's why she's still alive. Not because her dad was like, oh, my magic's back. How surprised were you guys when she comes up to Merlin and she's like, you're my dad? And we're like, what? You didn't tell us you had that revelation.
I was like suspicious that he was her father, just because I was like, why does her mom have the sword? Like, that seemed weird to me. Like, why would her mom have the sword? And like, why would she be like,
I was very, oh my God, look at this.
Take care of that. She just like seems so urgent about like Nimue getting it to Merlin, and so that's like, I was like, maybe. And like, I was like, why was her dad so awful to her? Like, why was her dad like basically disowning her?
That's what me into it a little bit, when like it was just a little bit before that revelation, but there was something about her father saying like, I don't know what you are, like I don't know whose you are, like you're not mine, kind of thing. And I was like, so maybe someone else is her dad.
I didn't put that together. I was like lost in the tumble of trying to like figure out everyone and what they are and what they do and all that stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of proper nouns in this book that made it a little overwhelming. And like some characters had similar names. Like there was Morgan, and then there's also a character called like Malgon. Something like that, and I was very confused for a minute about that.
I was confused about like all of a sudden we cared a lot about this Green Knight Gunrare or whatever. You know, at the end he's the one who was being tortured, and she's like crying and like, you must set him free. And I was like, who even is this guy?
Wait, was that not Squirrel?
No, not Squirrel. It was before Squirrel.
The knight guy.
Yeah, the Green Knight.
Oh, the Green. Okay.
His name is like Gunrare or Greer or
something like that.
What?
Right? Gaiwin?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
That sounds right. I was pronouncing it very differently.
I was making it up because I couldn't remember.
He was mentioned pretty early on, though, that they were like friends, right? And that's why she was so desperate to save him, I feel like.
I just like didn't remember him.
Yeah, we've been like shifting between so many people so much. Like he didn't play a super pivotal role. This is again where I think like I'm gonna enjoy the show so much.
Yeah, I think you'll see him and remember him like that, but not with his name.
Do you guys think, because this book was probably written obviously like as a promotional tool for the show, do you think he like had the script and then wrote this book off the script, or like what do you think?
I think he had the treatment and he wrote this off of the treatment.
No, you got
Kat's got the answer.
He talks about this in the author's note at the end, or in his acknowledgments at the end. He talks about the team. He worked with the writers on the show. He was a part of like the writing team. So like, he's very involved in this project, both in the book and in the show. And like he does talk about how they're different, but how like some ideas from like working with the show writers made their way into the book as well. So like show and book are very interwoven together.
I think they are. Yeah, I think like I honestly think he had a treatment in front of him while I was writing it. It feels very like cinematic the way the transitions go.
I think it was his treatment, though. Like, I think he's a screenwriter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I mean. Gawain death left me a bawling mess. Oh, I'm glad you liked Gawain.
I can't remember how it was pronounced in the audiobooks. I listened to the audio
because I kept hearing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you think of Lancelot? I didn't know what to think of Lancelot because I don't know anything about him. I just know his name. And when the monk was Lancelot and he was like, I liked him being a fae and like being one of the paladin's tools, basically. They're just like, oh, you're our special guy who's like really great at combat. And it's like, he's really great at combat because he's a freaking fae. I like the turmoil going on there, the inner turmoil and stuff.
I liked how he saved Squirrel at the end and like we're getting him back on our side.
Because at the beginning too, he like let him go.
Yeah, that's all I know about Lancelot is that Lancelot ends up being one of the knights of the Round Table, of King Arthur's Round Table. So like I know he's gonna come into the good guy fold eventually. So I was just like waiting for that.
Does he have those tears, or is that just a thing in this book?
I don't
know. People out there who know Lancelot, does he have tear tattoos?
I was also confused because she has that friend that she's with at the beginning named Pim.
Yeah, Pim.
Did Pim die?
That's what she was like. I think she died, and that was it.
We never like brought back to that, so I'm like, okay.
Maybe she's not dead.
It's like the whole like was slaughtered or whatever. She just like
maybe she'll come back around because she thought Squirrel was dead too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Squirrel, we did have that moment where like she told Squirrel to run and hide. So like Squirrel being alive wasn't like a plot. I was like, oh good, he made it out. Yeah, Pim, I'm interested to see if like no body, no murder, like did she dead?
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about the scene where she approaches the dentist and then they're like, pull out her tooth? And it's like, I guess I'm getting my tooth pulled. And then it never came back into play that she had like a bloody stump in her mouth. Like in medieval times, like with no antibiotics.
Honestly, I was just like, whoa, Nemu is badass. Like that's hardcore to like just be like, all right, pull my tooth.
I would be like, ew, get clean tweezers. Do not put those in my mouth.
I would still try to talk my way out of that. I would have been like, well, I don't know, it's not hurting that much. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I would just be like, it's not worth it.
Right.
And my favorite scene, which also this is when I started to like get more into the book, was when her and her friend went to that bar and like bet on it, and then she used her powers and stuff. And I feel like I thought that was going to come back around, but it didn't really.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
I would have liked more like that. It kind of felt Pirates of the Caribbean-y to me.
Yeah.
I feel like that guy is gonna come back though because
you saw that the boar.
Yeah, boars. Yeah, because there was also that point where Arthur was trying to get a new job, and someone was like, "You're all cleared on your debt to boars," and Arthur was like, "Yeah, totally." Mm-hmm. Also, he's got to be pissed that Nimue like chopped off his hand. So.
Oh yeah.
This person says, I get it that it probably makes sense, but I feel like a few of characters popped into 1 or 2 chapters and then disappeared and were never mentioned again. Like,
it feels like a very show thing. Like maybe you'll see them, but not hear about them until other seasons.
Right. It works for a TV show because like you can visually like see it and remember pretty well.
Yeah, you remember so differently with all the names versus seeing all the people.
Yeah. I don't even remember Yeva, like this character that they mentioned in this comic.
Is that the tiny badass sister lady who kills her with the arrows?
No, that's Ghost Sister Iris.
Oh, Iris, that's what it is, yeah.
I liked her story. That was really interesting, and how
her face was like burned off.
Yeah, she like infiltrated the Fae and like trained with arrows and stuff.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Who was the bird lady? Who's the bird lady? I don't remember bird lady.
Bird lady.
There's too many characters for my brain to keep track of without a visual.
A lot of them are just shown for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
This person's asking, have you seen the Merlin TV show? I absolutely adore that show, so that is what I was comparing this book to the whole time. I have not, but everybody always tells me to watch it.
Yeah, same. I think I would have liked it more if I had watched the Merlin TV show.
Actually, people always tell me that I look like the main character of that show. So.
Oh, yes. Do I still have stuff in my teeth? I think I have something right there.
It's like a little residue, it looks like.
It's a blueberry.
Okay, they say that Yeva... Okay. They use Yeva's birds to send a message to Merlin. I think that's remember that. I do remember that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that too. When he got the message from her. Yeah. Being like, let me borrow the sword. And then they were like, don't kill Merlin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Jesse's Merlin confirmed.
I want to pull up a picture of the actor.
Were any of you picturing? I read her completely wrong. I mean, I was picturing her like a legitimate, like, older woman in her 40s who felt like she had been underestimated her whole life and was like hell bent on revenge.
He did seem like really mature, so I could see why you would think that.
Yeah. Father Cardin was her biological father. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I do remember some thoughts about that, though. See, like, we'll have a lot to unpack when we watch the show. Like, it's going to be really interesting to see how the show is. Because just the way it's set up, it does feel like very Game of Thrones, where there's a lot of characters and there's, like, a lot of, like, slow burn with the politics and stuff.
Right.
And didn't the battle, to me, the battle felt like someone who's only seen Lord of the Rings twice in my lifetime, so I don't really know. But, like, it felt like that battle at, like, that place where they defend it, and there's, like, that big place. It starts with an H or something. Do you know?
What's it called?
I remember Cinder was the place where they were.
Yeah, I was picturing it looking like in Lord of the Rings 2, where they, like, defend that big place, where they're all in the place, and, like, the elves show up. Helm's Deep! Helm's Deep! Yes! Jenna Woods.
I haven't seen Lord of the Rings 2, so...
Well, I was just forced to rewatch them with John because I had only seen them once and hated them all. But I liked them better when he was there because he was explaining everything the whole time.
That's helpful.
It is. He's like, this is this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm glad that I read this before watching the show, because I feel like I'll be able to follow the show a lot better with, like, this base knowledge. I have a lot of, like, hopes and expectations for the show. Like, one thing, I felt kind of a distance between a lot of the characters because there's, like, so many of them, and we don't get, like, really personal with a lot of them. So I feel like in the show, that's something that will be different because we'll be able to, like, see them and, like, connect more to the person there.
Someone said at least you stayed awake watching them, meaning the Lord of the Rings, I think, but I fell asleep during the second one.
I fell asleep watching the first one the first time I watched it.
I think I did the first time too.
Relatable content. Getting to wake during them.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings. We were talking about that in the beginning. It's like the Sword of Power is like the ring. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was too similar because I feel like it works. I feel like this can't, like, does the mythology of the sword come before Lord of the Rings was written?
I don't. What are you talking about? What?
Someone asked if the Sword of Power and the Ring of Power felt too similar. And
not too similar. I think that's one of that's like a basic trope. I mean, it's probably based off of the Lord of the Rings a little bit. I'm sure they're inspired by it.
No, but that's what I'm asking. Was this first though?
Oh, cursed?
Not cursed, but the Arthurian legend, the mythology.
Is this actually part of the Arthurian legend?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Oh, I don't know. Can we talk about the scene where like she pulled the sword out of his body? Like it was inside him? Like there was a sword just like across his body inside him. She like reached in and was like,
yeah, I'm curious how it got to that point.
Did he swallow it? Did he just have it on him all the time and it sunk into his skin?
But he talked about how it was like merged to his hand. It was like an extension.
Oh yeah, like the stub. Oh yeah.
And it like became like in him.
Yeah. I think he's full on mindfulness. I think he's addicted to that sword and he doesn't care about anything else because of the addiction.
I wonder if the show's gonna like match in brutality, like how brutal the book
I think it will. As Frank Miller, he worked on Sin City, right?
Oh, I don't know. Did he?
I feel like he did. And Sin City was like brutal, and I feel like that kind of like a dark style. Yeah, he did. So I feel like it will be very dark and like, I don't know, I think it's gonna be stylized in a really cool way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be cinematic and really pretty. Yeah, it's interesting that they're taking on a lot of, I think, they're trying to find the next Game of Thrones. And I think this is gonna be one of the contenders. The Witcher is coming on Netflix too. Like this feels very, not similar, I don't know anything about The Witcher, but just in tone, it feels like a similar tone to me.
Yeah, I'm excited about The Witcher.
Yeah, me too. I heard it was good. They had like a screening in LA a couple days ago or something.
I'm hoping that the Grisha show will be the next.
Oh, I hope so too. But that's going to be a while off. I think next.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
Winter.
Do we want to go through like the cast of Cursed and see like?
Oh yeah, let's do that. I forgot they have a cast. Let's see. Do you have the list?
Yeah, I've got Merlin. This is Merlin. Not what I
pictured. Oh my god! That's Loki from Vikings!
He's from Vikings?
Yeah.
I forgot about that show.
Oh my gosh. That's so weird. Because I pictured Merlin really old, but I guess he has to like look kind of young, but with a beard.
And then this is Arthur, I believe, and he's from Teen Wolf, I think.
Oh my god, I hate that guy. He's so stupid in Teen Wolf and he's the worst. Sorry.
Someone is very passionate about his character in Teen Wolf.
He was the worst character. He was just there and said the worst lines, and I would make fun of him all the time. Oh my god, guess who was on my plane the other day? The coach from Teen Wolf. And he was like 2 rows ahead of me to the other side. And I kept looking at him. I'm like, why did I know him? He's someone. He's an actor. And then it struck me on the way home. I was like, the coach from Teen Wolf.
Okay, some of these people don't have names under them, so I don't know who they are.
Yeah, they're like cast, but they're not. It doesn't say who they're going to be.
Who's Pym and
it doesn't. We don't see it.
Wait, who? Yeah. Wait, who was the Teen Wolf stupid guy? I'm sorry, he's not actually. I don't know the actor. I'm just saying, like, stupid in Teen Wolf. What was he playing?
He's Arthur.
Oh, yeah. Oh no!
I'm assuming he's Arthur. It doesn't say under him either. But I just was like, oh, something right there.
Unless he's the Lancelot monk.
He could be that guy.
But he looks like he'd be cast as the King Arthur. He's like a pretty boy. Yeah. I wonder who's gonna be the king, or he could be the young king, because he could be a annoying.
Oh no, this is Arthur. This is on their Instagram. This is Arthur.
Ooh, I don't know him.
Familiar.
I don't know him.
Does it say his name?
Devin Terrell. I'm gonna see if he's been in anything else.
Gosh, remember Teen Wolf? It's gone.
Oh, he played a young Barack Obama in something.
I can see that.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad it's him.
Yeah.
Now I think that guy might play the king. He seems like he'd play a little brat really well.
I really liked all those politics that the king was going through, like where he's like the false king because like his mom like switched.
Yeah.
He actually had no claim, and then like the Vikings in the north, and like there's infighting between the Vikings in the north. Like all the politics was what I really loved most.
I like that too.
Jesse, you look shocked for a moment. What do you got to say?
Well, that Teen Wolf guy is playing the Weeping Monk.
Oh, he is the monk.
Lancelot.
Oh my gosh.
I like that. I think that works.
I think that works too. Tim Gryffindor Seeker says I've never seen Teen Wolf. Teen Wolf is one of those shows that is like bad in a fun way, like cheesy in a fun way, like where you can be like lol lol lol, but like actually I want to see what happens.
What do you guys think of the Red Paladins in general? Asks the Gryffindor Seeker.
You fool! Is that what that said?
I said they're awful.
Oh yeah. I said
Sorry.
I hated them.
They're pretty easy to hate.
Mm-hmm. They're an easy hate. They're pretty much assholes, but they, they believe they're doing God's work, as a lot of wars have been started over.
This person wants us to sort the characters into Hogwarts house.
Well,
Should we do that?
Nimue with the sword is a Slytherin.
I think she's Gryffindor because she's just like.
I think she's on the wall there. I think that she's Gryffindor, and then when the sword comes, it makes her too ambitious and greedy. When she has that scene where she's like, "My sword! I want my time alone with the sword." I'm like, oh my God. Somebody get her away from it.
Power hungry. Arthur would be.
Arthur feels like he might be a Slytherin just because he's like, because he's just like he wants to survive, so he does what he takes.
Yeah.
Take the route.
Though.
You skip.
The fact that he left right.
Yeah, because he's not very brave. He does have like a self-preservation thing.
Yeah, I think that's what makes him Slytherin. But he's a good one. Like I think he'll be really helpful. But I don't think he's a puff just because of that. His sister might be Slytherin. She's really ambitious.
Yeah, she's take charge, and she's like, okay, we're gonna save everyone, and we're gonna do all this, and she's like, no, you keep the sword and the power, like you be queen.
She wants to be the boss there.
Merlin.
Merlin is maybe a Ravenclaw.
I can see Ravenclaw or Slytherin too.
I think the sword makes him Slytherin.
Yeah.
He's probably a Ravenclaw at heart as a human.
Yeah.
We don't have any, like, no one really stands out as a puff to me. Maybe a Squirrel?
Well, maybe.
I can see that.
Squirrel.
I can see him being Gryffindor too, though, because he's
both.
I wish Squirrel would have been with Nimue the whole ride.
Yeah, me too. I was like, he just disappeared really quickly, so it didn't feel like they had that strong of a connection.
Yeah, if Nimue had more connections and was like more grounded, like Christine, what you were saying earlier, she did feel like she was just kind of like floating. It's like, what's grounding her?
Mm-hmm. She needs to have like bonds with people around her, and she was just like alone. And then like Arthur came in and out. What's Books a Million? It's a store. But I guess there's not that many of them in a lot of places. Okay, what else do we want to discuss? What was your guys' favorite scene in the book? You guys in the comments, chime in as well.
Chime in.
My favorite was the poker scene.
The poker scene,
I did like that.
I think it was just very well written, and it was like very the stakes were high, and I was like, I want more of this.
I liked the scene where Nimue and Arthur like first were together, and they come across like the Red Paladin, like a group of Red Paladins camping, and she like goes into the water, and then she like kills them from the water and like rises out because it's like known as the Lady of the Lake. Like that's like the mythology, the character that she's Arthurian legend, the Lady of the Lake, who rises out of the lake and gives the sword to Arthur. But in this version, like she rises out of the lake and kills a bunch of people with the sword. So I liked that. That was fun.
That is cool. See, I didn't know that.
I have very surface knowledge of Arthurian legend. Like that's about it.
No more than I do.
Like typical cat did research on the legend before she
I can't think of any other scenes that stood out to me.
I like the scene where Arthur's mom, not Arthur, Uther, King Uther poisoned his mom. His not mom. She was terrible.
Yeah.
For sure.
Least favorite scene. Well, Jesse still hasn't said his favorite scene.
I think my favorite scene is the same one as Kat's. I can't think of any other like standouts beside that one, because that scene was like super epic. I remember being like, "Oh my gosh!"
I like learning about Merlin and Lemoy's past together. Like I liked the scene where she pulled the sword out of him, and then a montage scene of them like their little romance happening.
Yeah,
that was cool. And it gave you more of a sense of like who her mom was, which was like we saw her mom for like 2 seconds, and it was like typical epic hero story. Mother dies in first 5 minutes. Yeah. People are still talking about Books a Million. Least favorite scene. Mine was probably the opening. I was like. I was very overwhelmed, and I was like, oh no, this book is gonna be really overwhelming.
Yeah.
Oh, do you mean the opening, how it like started off in the battle and then we like that confused me a little bit too. I mean, it makes more sense in a visual. Yeah. But yeah, it just felt like we were thrown into the battle, and then like there was no indication of when we had like caught back up to that point. We like bumped that part again.
Hit in the head, and that's the only way. Like a lot of stuff happens before she's like, "Oh, I got up."
So that was a little bit confusing. But yeah, I can't think of there wasn't any like standout scene that I was like, I don't like this or anything. Just in general, things that were like overwhelming with names and world building and stuff.
I like when they took a bath.
Oh yeah, that was a cute scene.
Yeah, it was like a classic ship scene. Like they take a bath together. I love it.
You would like that scene. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, oh yeah, I forgot about that scene.
I was like, oh yay, finally some shipping.
Oh man. Right. I don't know. Is there anything else we want to discuss? Or
we could start talking about upcoming stuff again, recapping.
Sure, we will recap.
Anyone have any last minute things they want to say in the chat before we start recapping our schedule coming up?
Maybe you can ask questions while you're doing that. We'll go through our lineup and stuff again. Again, this month, the month of December, we're reading A Curse So Dark and Lonely by BRIGID KEMMERER. This book has been out for a while, so it should be easy to like get in the library or something. And the sequel to this is actually coming out in January, so we're reading this to kind of get prepared for that. We've all heard great things.
Yeah, it's called Our Heart So Fierce and Broken.
Yeah.
I have it somewhere on here.
In January, we are reading Reverie by Ryan LaSala. Beautiful.
Yeah. And so this is our live show for A Curse so Dark and Lonely is December 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be doing 30 minutes discussion of A Curse so Dark and Lonely. And the second 30 minutes are going to be our superlatives of all the books we've read this year. So like our favorite characters ranked and our least favorite characters and our like favorite book. We rank all the books we read this year. And like we take superlative suggestions from you guys and be like the best this and the best that and the worst that. It's so much fun.
That is Friday the 20th, but 2 days before that, on Wednesday the 18th, we're doing a Dear Booksplosion episode. And for Dear Booksplosion, if you aren't familiar with that, that's just like our variety show that we do, where we answer questions from you guys, give you advice on things, and have a topic. There's not a book that we read for this, so anyone can join into the live show. You don't need to worry about spoilers. And this time we're going to be talking about like end of the decade and Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff. So I'm really excited for that because I can't wait to put together all my best of the decade and worst of the decade lists.
Yeah. Oh my God, those are going to be so much fun.
Good time. So yeah, that's kind of like the end of the year wrap up for us. And then leading into January with Reverie. So you guys should join us. It'll be great. We always love hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here today. It's always so nice to have y'all here in the chat because it makes it a real conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
What time is it? Sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
I was just saying we want to be friends and talk.
Oh, yeah. Friday. So all of our live shows typically, unless we say differently, are usually 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So you can count on that and you follow us on socials and we'd announce if anything changed. Yeah.
Right, well, I think that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm Jesse.
I'm Christine.
I'm Kat.
And we're Booksplosion. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.